I hope you had a wonderful Halloween, and in the spirit of spooky and scary things, I thought I'd hit you up with a little bit of tough love today. So with that in mind, I need to hit you with a bit of a caveat so that I can put all these things into perspective. Yes, you're watching this video, but the things that I'm talking about in this video are things that I tell myself a lot. In the last few weeks, I've been talking a lot about mental health and kind of friendships and all of that kind of things and getting these things in shape. But what about the body? On a day-to-day basis, I'm doing stuff to improve that. So it's probably about time we talked about the reality and the genuine truth about what we need to be doing to get ourselves in great shape. If you were born in 1976, as I was, the chances are, if you're a UK male, that you will reach the ripe old age of around 80 to 84. But it's not the age you get to, is it? It's the shape that you get to that age in. If you're an active person, sure, you're likely to reach a later stage of life than maybe somebody that's inactive, but it's about the condition you get there in that's important. As Peter Attia calls it, it's not about your lifespan, it's about your health span, what shape you're in when you get to the end of your life. So, let's talk about that in detail. Here comes the caveat. Parkrun is amazing. Did parkrun this morning, been doing it for years. It's a fantastic thing. Anybody that does parkrun, no matter what the time is, they get themselves out and they run 5K or they walk 5K, then the chances are that you're more likely to reach that average age, say 82 to 84, and also you're more likely to reach it in better shape. You're not going to be so susceptible to things like cardio and cerebral vascular disease, diabetes, stroke, cancer and things like that. You're going to be, in the grand scheme of things, a sedentary person that does absolutely nothing. In the grand scheme of things, you're going to be you're closer to being an elite athlete, no matter what your 5K time is, than somebody at this end of the spectrum. Elite athlete here, sedentary person here. Anyone that does parkrun here. So before you start making effigies for November the 5th of me, let's get that clear. You're right down this end of the spectrum, no matter your time. So let's say, for example, I get into my 80s. I get to 82, I get to 84. I could be incapable of doing anything for myself. I could be in a nursing home, basically being looked after by somebody else. Or, conversely, I could be living independently, hopefully with Bex, doing all the stuff that we want to do, physically active, and having a good health span as well as a lifespan. Let's get into some numbers. So the average time for a male aged 40 to 50 for a 5K parkrun is 28 minutes and 30 seconds. So that would give us, if we use this calculator, an estimated VO2 max of around about 33, which on this scale is low. So those of you that know this channel well will know that I'm a big fan of Peter Attia. The stuff to do with longevity and health span and everything else is very, very kind of new really, and all this developing technology and research that people are using. To me, Peter Attia is probably the most level-headed and kind of most believable expert out there. So he says we should be aiming to have a VO2 max in the high column to be able to have good longevity and good health span. To be able to do all those things in our 80s that we want to be able to do, to be able to be physically independent and mentally well. So the chart that Peter Attia uses, for my age group, that puts me with a VO2 max of between 44 and 51 to be high. Okay, so what does that mean in terms of a 5K parkrun for a male aged 40 to 50? Well, that puts it at 22 minutes and 15 seconds to get to the very lowest range of VO2 max in the high element. 22:15, that is really quick. But there are people in my age group that are running sub-20s, 18s, 19s, so it's just really fast. It's not insane. It shouldn't take me sort of 6, 7, 8 run sessions to get to the point of running around about 22 minutes to get myself into that VO2 max column that projectably, when I get into my 80s, means that I'm actually going to be living a life that I want to live as opposed to just being old. I don't want to just be old. And would it take hard work to get down to 22 minutes? Well, yeah, I'd have to eat properly and train and all the rest of it. But would it compromise things like my mental health and my physical health in terms of strength, etc.? Well, no, not really. There are people that are carrying good muscle mass that can run 22 minutes. I should be one of them. And I think anybody that's sat there watching this video going, my God, 22 minutes, I'm only running 25, 26, 28, whatever it might be, 30, doesn't really matter. The point is, as we said already, we're down here. Trying to get up that point here, that's so difficult to do. And maybe it's just a bit beyond some of us. And some of us would be sat there watching this video and thinking, yeah, that's kind of crazy. But here's the thing. We all know, for example, our age group knows full well that if we want to earn money, we've got to work really, really hard. We accept that. It's perfectly normal. And yet when it comes to our health span, we're willing to compromise and not struggle and not suffer to get the good things out of it. I think this is where my brain kind of plays tricks on me, and I don't understand why people are willing to suffer and struggle in some areas of their lives, but not in others. Most of the time when people go out for a run or they go to the gym, they kind of work averagely. They kind of don't really want to struggle. They don't really want to suffer. And of course, that's going to put you down this end of the spectrum, of course, but it's not going to push you up to that point. And we also tend to accept that we have to work quite hard on our mental health, that we might need to go to therapy and read books and all these kind of things, and really struggle with it and actually put ourselves into a level of suffering. So we're willing to do it at work. We're willing to sacrifice our kind of home life sometimes to earn this money. And we're also willing to kind of put effort into other areas of our lives. But when it comes to our physical health, and I'm not really sure culturally where this comes from, we kind of just soft pedal. We kind of get out and maybe do a 2-hour bike ride, or we might go out for a run for half an hour or something and think that we're kind of doing something astronomically amazing. And all we're doing is really putting ourselves up this end of the spectrum, but not doing the really hard work of going out and doing intervals, for example, and really struggling and suffering. And so why do I bring this up today? Well, because today I did park run and I ran 24:30. Now that's a whole minute quicker than last week. And I've started to feel that I can handle the suffering and the struggle of a run at that end of the threshold. Yes, I'm still 2 minutes plus away from being in that high range, but I'm ever closer each week to kind of getting there. And there's this shift that happens when you're getting fitter, where the struggle isn't kind of being massively out of breath and your legs feel like they're burning. It's kind of just this tapping away at the threshold and just suffering and holding that suffering for the entire duration of the race. For me, I quite enjoy that feeling, but I think for other people, they'll do anything and everything to avoid that. And maybe that says more about me than it does anything else. But ultimately, the thing I enjoyed today about the run was the fact I was able to suffer for nearly 25 minutes. I came in 24:30, and that's better than last week. So will I put the effort into run 22? Yeah, absolutely I will. I know that in the long run, no pun intended, it's going to pay dividends. It will mean that should I get to that age, and of course all fate aside, should I get to that age, I'll be in better shape, or at least the odds are in my favour to be so. And as I've sort of called it before, it's kind of like a physical pension. You know, we're willing to pay our money into a financial pension to live better in the future, but this is free. This literally doesn't cost anything other than some suffering and pushing yourself beyond the threshold you're capable of. But the point is this, and I know this because I'm fortunate that I've done it several times. Everybody is capable of pushing themselves harder than they think they are. And it may just be that when you're sat there heading into your 90s, living in your own place, bouncing your grandchildren or even your great-grandchildren on your knee, you'll think back to your 40s and how much that suffering and that struggle is actually worth every second of it. That's it for today. Somewhat ironically, Bex and I are going to a 50th birthday party for a friend of ours that we've known since we were kind of, I don't know, early teenagers, I guess. So that'll be good fun. I'll see you on tomorrow's video.